Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Made in New England interview series, where we talk with New England-based companies and the people who lead them. I'm your host, Steve DeVries, and today I'm joined by Catherine Smart, co-founder and CEO of Not Just Co. Catherine, welcome to the show.
Hi, Steve. Thanks so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. Excited to have you on. Maybe you could kick us off and just tell us a little bit about yourself and Not Just Co.
Sure. So, Not Just Co. makes modern pantry staples designed to nourish all the parts that make you whole. And what does that mean? We have a line of pasta sauces and salad dressings that are really meant to be multi-purpose meal starters. You can grab them out of the pantry and make dinner with whatever you have on hand. And that really came from my experience as a personal chef and a food writer. And then, of course, a busy mom with many hungry mouths to feed who can sometimes be a bit picky. So, during my time as a personal chef, I thought I understood the struggle of getting dinner done, but it wasn't until I became a parent that I really felt it. And I've really, my whole career just wanted to be able to help families across America with dinner, not just folks who could afford a personal chef. So when I met my co-founder about 5 years ago at Christopher Kimball's Milk Street, I shoved the recipe for a 10 veggie sauce I was making out of a farm share into her hands. And that was kind of the start of it.
Wow, that is a really cool story. So, you went from chef to writer to entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved storytelling, and I've always loved sitting in your seat actually as a food journalist for the Globe for many years. They are kind enough to let me still occasionally write for them when I can find the time. But I really wanted to kind of I had an analogy the other day. Oh, I was thinking about what's his name in Mary Poppins, the guy with all the birds.
I'll
I
say
feel
I'm
like
the
that's
wrong guy to
some
to, to ask about
so
Mary Poppins. My
sometimes
wife
you
is.
may remember the opening of Mary Poppins. He's like a one-man band. And I sort of feel like at this point in my career, I'm taking all of these tools, what I learned as a personal chef and a writer and a cooking instructor and a journalist, and how do I combine those to really, help more people with this weeknight dinner juggle. And for me, as like an entrepreneur and a parent, of course, I love food, but it's really about like giving people a slice of their life back when it comes to dinner, and like making dinner an easier thing so that they can enjoy all these other parts of their life, and like we say, nourish all the parts that make you whole, because none of us have time to be in the kitchen all night.
So, you've been in business for over 6 years now. Obviously, you've got traction. What would you attribute your business's success to?
I mean, I'm very fortunate, of course, I grew up in a family where my mom was an entrepreneur. She started the Smart Associates, which was an environmental consulting firm, back in the 80s. So that was pretty rare, for a woman to start a business like that. And so I always had that example. My dad worked with her. And also they were both gardeners and loved food. So I had that, foundation. I went to University of New Hampshire, which I loved, and I had a professor there named Nick Smith. He was he's still there, kicking ass, I'm sure. And he really encouraged me to like pursue this path. He's a philosophy professor, and I was kind of wondering what I was going to do with my life. I loved food, I loved writing, and he pointed out that BU had this master's in gastronomy program. And gastronomy is the study of food and culture. I know it sounds like astronomy or gastro or enterology. And so he really encouraged me to pursue that. And that's where I met my mentor, Cheryl Julian, who was the food editor of the Boston Globe. It's how I got connected with the food scene in Boston. And I always knew that I wanted to do media, but needed to pay my student loans. And so I started my personal chef business when I was 21 in order to kind of subsidize my budding media career. And then I was fortunate enough to meet my co-founder when I was working at Christopher Kimball's Milk Street. I was a cast member on their TV show for the first 4 seasons and reported for radio. So I think certainly perseverance and, hard work is a big piece of it, but I also feel very lucky to have met the people that I have along the way.
Wow. So, for the business nerds like myself, I am a self-professed business geek. Uh, Looking into your business inside the operations, what kind of metrics do you use in order to make sure that Not Just Co is operating in a manner that you're satisfied with?
Yes. So I would say that the most important KPI for us is in year over year in-store velocity growth. So what that means is in the doors that we are already in, are we selling more product each year and even month over month? Because, you know, I am in the natural food CPG consumer product good business. And if you are very well funded, you can buy a lot of distribution. So it's changed a little bit, and there's never been a more difficult time to get on the shelf, you know, post-pandemic. You know, folks are cooking more at home than ever, but those legacy brands, those brands that have been there for a long time, command a good portion of the shelf space. So more than ever, it is very hard to get into retailers. However, you can't pat yourself on the back once you get on the shelf, because the hardest thing is actually getting off the shelf. And going back to that distribution, if you have enough money, there are some ways that you can sort of spread your distribution across the country. And of course, you're going to see, you know, greater sales. But when you kind of peel back the onion to make sure your business is healthy, is it growing healthily, you need to make sure that where you already are, you're growing in a healthy way. Otherwise, you can blow through quite a lot of money, you know, expanding into more doors and not quite realize, oh, wait, I am not performing, you know, in the doors that I'm in. And that's kind of like the fundamental is make sure that before you expand too quick, you're performing, you know, where you already are.
So you're turning your inventory in the places that you have to fight tooth and nail to get the shelf space. That's that a fair
Exactly.
summary? Okay.
Exactly. And the product mix, you know, like it's really interesting to look. So we actually launched as a D2C brand, because it was super cool to do that back in 2019. We quickly realized that between being primarily bootstrapped at that point, and also shipping in glass, that, you know, that probably was not going to be our long-term main channel. Also, let's be real, people are still buying their pasta sauce at the grocery store and not on Instagram. But anyways, it was a really interesting way to launch. And we launched with what we thought of as like a kind of like a capsule collection of what you would need in your pantry. So we had a caramel, a red pesto, a pasta sauce, and a salad dressing. I'm so glad we did that because we got such amazing consumer insights. But what we found was the pasta sauce and the salad dressing were far and away outperforming everything else. And so that's how we knew, okay, these are the two categories we're going to double down in when we go into wholesale, which is a much more expensive place to play. But it's also a place that we really knew that we could grow. So we still get lots of emails like, I missed the caramel, where's the pesto? And we're like, maybe we'll bring it back someday, or, you know, put it up on our website. But you have to be able to support and market the products, you know, that you have. And being a small business, it's really important to us that we're always looking at our you know, are we in the right doors, and do we have the right products in the right doors?
So talking about your products, starting to get hungry, right? Thinking about pasta sauces and salad dressings and so forth. Where do we find Not Just Co. products?
Yes, so we are still available on our website at notjust.co. Highly recommend checking us out because we also have a ton of recipe content there. You know, with my background and my co-founder's background in cooking teachers and food writing and recipe development, we have a ton of education there. But you can also find us we launched in 240 Target doors nationwide. In the New England area, we are in Roche Brothers, we are in Rosemont markets. If you go to the store locator on our website, you'll see we're in about 500 doors nationwide right now. This is a good reminder. I need to update that store locator. As a small, you know, business owner, there's always a never-ending to-do list. But I'm really grateful to be in so many specialty and independent-owned doors in New England, because that's really how we got our start. I mean, Formaggio Kitchen is what I think is just the best specialty shop maybe in the country. And when we had our first product, I so nervously drove it to them and had them try it. And that was where we launched. So even though we're in Target now and playing in mass and conventional, you know, with my background as a chef, it's so important that like the food snobbiest people are gonna love our product.
That is so cool. So you're in all these locations and you're selling online. Can you share with us like what kind of operation do you have in order to create all of this food?
Yeah, so it is a scrappy one. We only have 2 full-time people. It's me and my co-founder. I really own kind of the brand and marketing side of it, and she deals with ops and finance. I will say we have phenomenal partners that have made it possible to run so lean. So like I'm happy to shout these people out right now. We work with Accountfully for our accounting, who've been incredible. They're really focused on small food. We have a couple freelancers, Katie Siff she's actually a New Hampshire native too, and comes from like the celebrity branding side, but was able to just completely transform our business. That way, Maggie Belch from Squiggle Studio. We have another advisor, Jamie Bortek. So for us, it's been all about running lean, but surrounding ourselves with the smartest people in their particular operations, and being able to kind of scale up and down as we need help. And I do look forward to building out, more of a team. But a lot of our freelancers have been with us since day one for 5 years. So there's some really great teamwork happening there.
That's a great strategy, though, for us, for small companies to recognize that you don't necessarily have to have all of that expertise full-time on payroll, but to utilize experts in a fractional way. It's something that I encourage a lot of my clients to consider who aren't ready to bring on full-time accounting, full-time HR, full-time IT, so on and so forth, right? So I applaud you for that strategy. I was thinking about like who's making the actual
Oh
product.
yes, who's making the sauce? So
Yeah, like do you have co-packers, or are you doing it all like just do you have this amazing factory inside your home or your office?
no, so I think my co-founder's dream is to be vertically integrated and have a factory. So that is perhaps one day, but coming from actually my background in food journalism, I knew two things. I wanted a shelf-stable product. I didn't want to mess with refrigerated supply chain. And I knew that being so small, we didn't have the resources to focus on everything. You either have to focus on building the business or you have to focus on manufacturing the product. So we outsourced co-packing from day one. So even when we were doing sauce runs on credit cards and working nights and weekends, we scraped together the money for a co-packer. That being said, we develop the recipes in our home kitchens, and we have our pH meter and we get it where we want it. We test it on friends and family and our picky kids. And then we send it to the food scientist and the co-packer to kind of tweak it in any way that we need to scale up the recipe. One of the reasons we're a premium product is we don't use any junk or we use a little citric acid, which is derived from citrus fruits in order to be able to can our products, but we don't have any like crazy chemical preservatives or anything like that. So we create them in our home kitchens with Phoebe Lobkowitz, who works with us as well. And then we send them to the co-packer. So we actually we're on our third co-packer now, because as we've grown, our needs have changed. One of the things, I love our new co-packer. I am sad that our production is now in the middle of the country, and the business itself is based in the Boston area, but our production is actually in Ohio.
That's okay. It was all started here, so we'll still call it made in New England.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere. My co-founder was, born in Wilmington, Mass. I was born in Hopkinton, New Hampshire, and we are both something that we are complete opposites in so many ways, but our like New England skepticism and stubbornness is something we really like bond over, and I think it's a core tenet of how we're building the culture here.
I appreciate that, and as a lifelong New Englander myself. So, what excites you most about the future of your business?
Yeah, I think what's so interesting is I was always kind of a lone wolf in my business. When I worked in TV, when I worked as a writer, in my personal chef business, and I was really fearful of managing folks, and building the team and finding the right butts in the right seats, and seeing someone figure out what makes them really excited, and then hopefully facilitating them and being able to do it. It's something that I love and never knew I would love. I know I have a lot of work to do to continue to improve as a leader, but it's something that surprised me. So on sort of like the internal side, that's really, really exciting for me. And then externally, as I said before, I started as a personal chef, and it was really gratifying to see, making these families' lives easier. And, yes, I had some glamorous clients that would, fly me to vacation homes, but the majority was like 2 working parents, maybe a doctor and an entrepreneur. And for a lot of them, it was a huge investment to get a personal chef. But seeing how I made their lives more manageable and easy, and now that my husband and I are both working parents with kids, I can really understand how you might, choose that as a place to put your money. It's been so awesome to hear feedback from our customers across the country and see that we're able to actually help more and more people just get this little slice of their life back and feel a little bit better about dinner time.
What an amazing response to that question. I really appreciate that. So You've talked about New England already. I want to ask you if you're looking at your business, right? And maybe you picture it a few years from now and you are handed this magic wand and you can wave that magic wand and make one thing happen for your business. What would that be?
I hope that we are able to, we have a big vision, for the company and how I think that it can really help people with this like mission of getting dinner done. And I just hope that we are successful enough that we are able to realize that vision on both the product side and the people side. Like I would love to be able I spoke with you a minute ago about our fantastic outsourced partners, but I would, as you bring up New England, like to create more jobs in New England and have, a bit of a more solid foundation there. And then again, externally, there's so many more products and recipes and content that I am looking forward to creating. We have the resources. I think our team is uniquely leveraged with our media backgrounds and passion for home cooking to really connect and help people outside of just the product space.
Catherine, last question from me. So you are an entrepreneur. You must have gone through some type of fundraising journey. And I think if you could share some of that with our audience, that would be really helpful.
Sure. So yes, in my business, particularly consumer packaged goods, generally you do have to go out and fundraise. It's very difficult to bootstrap. I will also say I found that very intimidating at first when one of my advisors said I should raise at least $350,000 to start. And he could have said 350 million and it would have been the same to me. It all seemed very foreign. So the first thing I would say is don't be intimidated by the process. As some people might know, less than 2% of all VC funding goes to female founders, despite us being a growing, a growing percentage of founders. And despite female founders having on average fantastic exits from their businesses, it's still a small number. So I share that not to frighten people, but just say, be aware. And it's something that we need to get better at and we need to persist. So, for me, that has been probably one of the biggest challenges is coming up against that, educating myself on fundraising. But I will say that it has been a really empowering journey. And my goal now, I continue to need help and assistance and surrounding myself with great advisors and investors. But my goal is to really give back. And if I can be a resource for folks who are navigating fundraising for the first time, I want to do that. And then one more concrete piece of advice is just make sure you have a real understanding of your exit strategy if you have one, and make sure that's aligned with your investors. My co-founder and I, we're very clear from day one. We knew we had to understand that this business is our baby, but we are building it to sell it because that is the way that the CPG industry works. And just make sure that you're really clear on that. And surround yourself with people who know things that you don't, and don't be intimidated because we all have our strengths and we should lean into them and not shy away from where we need help, whether it's in fundraising or it's in finance or marketing. It's all it's all good, and we all need to surround ourselves with an excellent team.
Amazing advice, particularly for those who find themselves facing maybe more barriers than others. Just keep going is what I heard you say there. So our guest today has been Catherine Smart of Not Just Co. Catherine, it's been a pleasure for having you on today.
Thank you so much.
All right, and thank you everybody for listening and watching. We'll be back with another episode soon. Have a great day.